My name is Jeanette Graff, and I am 38 years old. For most of my adult life, I have been the person my family calls when something needs to be handled. Not leaking pipes, not broken wiring, money. It started when I was 24. Small, reasonable requests. My mother, Karen, asking if I could cover a car payment just until next month. A few hundred here and there. Then more. My younger brother Ethan's rent when he was between jobs, which somehow stretched into 7 months. When my father's insurance ran out, I paid the medical bills without being asked twice. I never said no. That was the problem. When you're dependable long enough, people stop asking questions. They stop checking boundaries. They just assume you'll absorb the impact. Ethan is 2 years younger than me, and if there is one unchanging truth in our family, it's that Ethan has always been the golden child. Star athlete in high school, easy smile at family gatherings. The one who could do no wrong, even while doing everything wrong. 5 jobs in 10 years, a truck he couldn't afford, a wife who loved luxury as much as he did. Every fall, when his finances tightened, my parents softened, and I was the one underneath, catching the fall. 4 years ago, Ethan bought a house. I knew immediately it was a stretch. His credit was shaky, his down payment barely scraped together. But Karen was thrilled. She called me that night, her voice glowing with pride, talking about equity and adulthood, and how proud she was that Ethan was finally settling down. I congratulated him, sent a housewarming gift. I didn't tell anyone I'd been renting the same small apartment for 5 years because I was too busy keeping everyone else afloat. What I also didn't tell anyone was that 2 years earlier, I had quietly opened a second savings account, a real emergency fund, no debit card, no checks, just 18% of every paycheck deposited without fail. Because I had learned the hard way that if my family knew money existed, they would find a reason to spend it. That account reached $40,000. It wasn't just money. It was every ramen dinner I ate so someone else could pay a bill. Every vacation I canceled. Every winter I wore the same coat while Ethan bought something new. It was security, peace of mind, a future that belonged to me. Or so I thought. Last Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. I had just gotten home from work, heels kicked off, blouse loosened, ready for an ordinary evening. Then I saw my mother's car parked in the guest lot. Karen never dropped by unannounced. When I opened the door, she smiled in a way that felt wrong, too bright, too pleased with herself. She stepped inside without waiting to be invited, holding a thin manila folder. "I have something to show you," she said, walking past me. "You're going to be so proud of me." She sat on my couch and patted the cushion beside her like I was a child. I stayed standing. When she opened the folder, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. Bank statements, my account number, my balances, my emergency fund laid out in black and white. "How did you get those?" I asked. Karen waved her hand dismissively. "That doesn't matter, sweetheart. What matters is that I found a solution." My stomach dropped. She slid another sheet toward me. A payment confirmation dated the day before. $36,000 transferred to Ethan's mortgage company. "I use family money to help family," she said calmly. "He was 2 months behind. They were starting foreclosure." I sat down because my legs stopped working. "You took my money." Karen sighed like I was being emotional. "You can rebuild it. You're such a good saver. Ethan needed it now." I stared at the balance on the page. $5,000 left. "That was my emergency fund." "And this was an emergency," she replied smoothly. "Your brother needed real help, not a lecture about budgeting." She smiled at me, waiting, expecting praise. That was when it hit me, cold and unmistakable. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't desperation. This was a decision. She had taken $36,000 from me without asking, without warning, without permission. And she was sitting on my couch waiting for gratitude. And in that moment, I understood something that would change everything. To them, that money had never really been mine at all. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. After Karen left, after the door clicked shut and her perfume lingered in my living room like proof, I sat completely still for 30 seconds, long enough to feel my heartbeat slow, long enough for shock to harden into clarity. Then I reached for my phone. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of my account history, the payment confirmation, timestamps. I recorded my own voice describing exactly what had happened while the details were still sharp. I photographed the folder she'd left behind on my coffee table, like it was a receipt for something stolen from a store. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate. Karen had accessed my account using documents she should never have had. She had impersonated me. She had bypassed security protocols I'd put in place specifically to keep my family out. Calling the bank immediately felt too reactive, too loud. I knew the pattern. If I exploded, Karen would cry, Ethan would panic, my father would step in and mediate, which meant asking me to let it go for the sake of peace. Consequences would dissolve, the behavior would repeat. Not this time. 3 years earlier, after my father had once tried to access an old joint account we'd forgotten to close, I'd gotten paranoid. I'd set up layered protections, multi-factor authentication, biometric locks, and a fraud review window that delayed large transfers before final processing. At the time, it felt excessive. That paranoia just saved me. I opened my banking app and checked the transaction details. Karen's payment had been initiated the previous afternoon. It was still inside the review window. I called the bank's fraud prevention line. When the representative answered, her tone was polite until I explained that unauthorized access had occurred. Then it sharpened, professional, efficient. She asked me what I wanted to do. She paused. Given the amount, we'll need to file a formal fraud report. Law enforcement may be notified. That was the nuclear option. Can we delay the law enforcement part for 24 hours? I asked. I want to address this internally first. I understand, she said carefully. But I need to be clear. Once we reverse the transfer, the recipient institution will be notified. There will be penalties, immediate consequences. I hung up and stared at my phone. Within an hour, $36,000 would return to my account, and Ethan's mortgage company would be told the payment was fraudulent. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. I cooked dinner, reheated leftover pasta, ate at my kitchen table like it was any other Tuesday. My phone sat beside my plate, volume turned up. 6:15 p.m. Nothing. 6:32. Still quiet. At 6:57, my phone buzzed. A text from Karen. Call me when you get a chance. No panic, no urgency. She had no idea yet. At 7:04, my phone rang again. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Thank God, Karen said, sounding confused but not alarmed. I don't understand something. The mortgage company called. They said there was an issue with the payment. Something about it being reversible. I took a sip of coffee. That's strange, she continued. I have the confirmation right here. What method did you use to make the payment? I asked calmly. A pause. I used your account details. We never discussed that, I said. Well, of course not, she replied lightly. But the payment was valid, so I don't see why it would be reversed. Do you think it's a bank error? It's not an error, I said. Silence. What do you mean? She asked slowly. I reported the transaction as fraudulent this afternoon, I said. Because it was. The line went dead quiet. When Karen spoke again, her voice had changed. Tight, sharp. What did you do? You accessed my account without permission, using stolen documents, I said evenly. You moved money without consent. That's fraud. The bank agreed. Jeanette, this is ridiculous, she snapped. I'm your mother. We're family. You don't report family for fraud. It wasn't a misunderstanding, I said. You planned this. I could hear movement on her end. Footsteps. A door closing. Do you have any idea what you've done? She hissed. Ethan's payment didn't clear. They're adding fines. He could lose his house because of you. He could lose his house because he hasn't paid his mortgage in 2 months, I replied. You're willing to destroy your brother's life over money? I'm willing to defend myself against theft, I said. even when the thief is my mother. She started crying. Loud, dramatic sobs. The kind meant to reset the power balance. Something inside me went cold. What has this family ever given me, Karen? I asked quietly. Because from where I am standing, I've given all of you everything. She didn't answer. I paid Ethan's bailouts, Dad's medical bills, family trips I wasn't even invited on. And in return, you decided my bank account was community property? You're being cruel, she whispered. No, I said. I'm being done. There was a sharp intake of breath. Ethan just pulled into the driveway, she said urgently. He got the call. You need to fix this. I'm not fixing anything, I replied. You broke it. You deal with it. I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. For the first time in 15 years, I had said no, and I meant it. My phone rang again 3 minutes later. Ethan. I watched it buzz across the table until it stopped. Then it rang again, and again. The fourth time, I answered. What the hell did you do? Ethan shouted. There was no greeting, no confusion, just rage. Do you have any idea what this just cost me? I reported fraud, I said. That's what I did. You had my mortgage payment reversed, he snapped. The fines alone are over $2,000, and they've accelerated the foreclosure timeline. I had 85 days. Now I have 28. That's unfortunate, I said quietly. Unfortunate, he barked. That's my house, Jeanette, my home. And you tanked it because you're mad at Mom? I'm not mad, I said. I stopped a crime. He laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. A crime? She was helping me with your money, money you weren't even using. There it was. What do you need the money for anyway, he continued. You don't have kids, you don't own a house, you don't even have a husband. You just sit in your apartment hoarding cash while the rest of us are trying to build real lives. Each sentence landed like confirmation, not pain. Clarity. You're right, I said. I don't have those things. He waited, smug. Do you want to know why? I asked. Because every time I save enough for a down payment, someone in this family has an emergency. I've spent 15 years being everyone's backup plan. This is family, Ethan said. Family helps each other. Help works both ways, I replied. When was the last time you helped me? Silence. When was the last time you asked if I was okay? I pressed. More silence. I heard you almost cried when Mom told you the mortgage was paid, I continued. Were you grateful or just relieved someone else fixed your problem again? This is different, he said weakly. It's exactly the same, I replied. You make decisions you can't afford. Mom enables you. I pay for it. The only difference this time is that I said no. You said no by committing fraud, he shot back. I reported fraud, I corrected. Mom accessed my account illegally. She used my documents. She impersonated me. Those are crimes. You're bluffing, he said. You wouldn't actually involve the police. The only reason she's not in handcuffs right now is because I asked the bank to delay the report for 24 hours, I said. If she tries anything else, that protection disappears. I could hear muffled voices on his end, someone whispering. So what do you want? He demanded. Money? An apology? I don't want anything from you, I said. And I'm not fixing something I didn't break. Then what's the point? He asked bitterly. Is this just to punish us? The point is boundaries, I said. My money is mine. No one else gets to decide how it's used. Fine, he snapped. Keep your money. But you can keep the guilt when I lose my house. No, I said calmly. That's on you. You were 2 months behind. Where did the money go? He didn't answer. The truck, I said slowly, the pieces clicking together. You bought a new truck 6 months ago. $52,000. It was time for an upgrade, he muttered. Your old one worked, I said. You chose the truck over the mortgage. Now you want me to save you from that choice? You don't understand, he said. I understand perfectly, I replied. You chose pride. The consequences are yours. I could hear my mother crying in the background. She's devastated, Ethan said. You really won't help? I really won't, I said. Then we're done, he said coldly. You and me. After this. Something inside me loosened. Relief, not grief. Okay, I said. If that's how you feel. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, waiting for guilt to arrive, waiting for regret. Instead, I felt exhaustion, like I'd been carrying a weight for years and had finally put it down. A minute later, my phone buzzed with a text from my father. "Your mother is very upset. Call me." I stared at the screen and understood exactly what calling him would mean. Compromise, pressure, another request for me to bend. I turned the phone off. For the first time in 15 years, I chose myself. I didn't go to work the next day, not because I was sick, because I was tired. The kind of tired that seeps into your bones after years of bracing for the next crisis that isn't yours. I turned my phone back on around noon. 37 missed calls, 23 text messages, 4 voicemails. I didn't listen to any of them. Instead, I drove to the bank. The branch manager, Christina, met me with the kind of careful sympathy reserved for people who arrive with paperwork and hollow eyes. "I'm really sorry about yesterday," she said. "Let's make sure this can never happen again." We closed the compromised account and opened a new one with entirely new numbers. We removed every recovery contact. Every security question was replaced with answers only I would know. Layers on layers. Final. "I hate that you have to do this," Christina said quietly. "I don't," I replied, and I meant it. As I was pulling out of the parking lot, my phone rang. An unknown number. "This is Brittany Gonzalez from First National Mortgage," the voice said. "I'm calling regarding Ethan Graff's account. Our records list you as an approved contact." "I'm not," I said. "You have outdated information." "We're exploring options after the returned payment," she continued gently. "There may be a way to avoid foreclosure if—" "No," I said. "Do not call this number again." I hung up and blocked it. That evening, my father called. "Jeanette," he said, weary. "We need to talk about what you're doing to this family." "What I'm doing?" I asked. "Your mother made a mistake," he said carefully. "Families work through mistakes." "This wasn't too much salt and soup," I replied. "She stole from me." Silence. "She hasn't eaten in 2 days," he tried. "Then maybe she shouldn't have stolen $36,000, I said. "You weren't using the money," he said. And there it was, the belief laid bare. "That money was my safety," I said. "Just because I wasn't spending it doesn't mean it was available." "What do you want us to do now?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. "You live with the consequences. All of you." "You sound cold," he said. "I sound finished," I replied. He asked if I would come to Sunday dinner. "No," I said. "I'm not pretending everything is normal." 2 weeks later, Ethan lost the house. I didn't celebrate. I didn't mourn. I watched from a distance as the fallout spread. Tight living conditions, constant arguments, blame bouncing off walls with nowhere to land. And quietly, without telling anyone, I did something for myself. I bought a house, a small townhouse, 2 bedrooms, a tiny garden, mine. I moved in with the help of 2 co-workers who had become real friends. That first night, sitting alone in my living room, phone silenced, I felt something unfamiliar. Peace. 4 weeks later, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Karen standing alone. No folder this time. Just a purse and a worn expression. I almost didn't open the door. Almost. I opened the door just enough to stand in the doorway. "How did you find me?" I asked. Karen's mouth tightened. "I called your workplace. I told them I was your mother and that it was an emergency. I made a mental note to report that to HR." "What do you want?" I asked. "Can I come in?" she said softly. "No." She flinched like the words surprised her. "Jeanette, please, I just want to talk." "We already talked," I said. "You explained why you thought taking my money was justified. I explained why it wasn't. There's nothing left." Her eyes filled with tears. This time, they looked real. "Ethan lost the house," she said. I didn't respond. "They foreclosed 2 weeks ago," she continued. "He and his wife are staying with us now. It's hard. Everything is tense." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. And I was, abstractly. "Like you're sorry it rained somewhere you don't live anymore." "You don't sound sorry," she said. "I warned you what would happen," I replied. "Ethan had options. He could have sold the truck, downsized, worked more hours. He chose not to." "He's your brother," she whispered. He's a 33-year-old man, I said, and this is his life. She wiped her cheeks. When did you get so hard? When you stole $36,000 from me and expected me to thank you. Her breath hitched. I came here to apologize. That stopped me. Okay, I said carefully. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry I accessed your account without permission. I'm sorry I didn't ask. I told myself I was helping my family. The words were right. The tone was rehearsed. Why now? I asked. Why apologize after 4 weeks of silence? She looked away. Because things are falling apart at home. Ethan and his wife fight constantly. Your father is overwhelmed. I thought if I apologized, maybe you'd help. There it was. No, I said. Jeanette, I don't care what you need, I said, my voice steady. For 15 years, I cared. I gave. The moment I stopped, you all disappeared. Now things are hard, and suddenly you remember I exist? We're not using you, she said weakly. You always have, I replied, and I'm done letting you. Her face hardened, grief draining into something colder. You've changed, she said. No, I said. I stopped pretending this was love. So that's it? She asked. You're abandoning us? I'm living my life, I said. You're welcome in it if you respect my boundaries. But if all you want is access to my money, then we're done. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned and walked back to her car without another word. I closed the door and leaned against it, hands trembling, heart pounding. It felt awful and freeing. 6 months later, I'm writing this from my home office, the second bedroom of my townhouse. I've been promoted twice. Turns out, when you're not constantly managing other people's disasters, you do better at work. I haven't heard from my mother or Ethan in 5 months. My father sends occasional neutral texts. I reply the same way. Last week, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Ethan's wife. She said they're renting a small apartment now, that Ethan has a better job, that losing everything changed him. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. Not because I wanted reconciliation, but because it confirmed what I already knew. Consequences teach. Enabling does not. I'm dating someone now, a man I met at a coffee shop. He knows we're not close with my family and doesn't push for details. He respects boundaries. It feels new and safe. Karen brought me a folder the day she stole from me. I still have it, tucked in a drawer. Not as a reminder of what was taken, but of what I got back. My dignity, my boundaries, my life.